Hey guys, so welcome to today's session. This is going to be just a regular mentorship session from our side, and basically, what we are going to discuss in this session is that how machine learning is basically, or how data science is basically being applied to different domains in the industry, and we are going to discuss a lot of domains which we got from your side. Okay, so we basically asked you guys to fill up a form and we asked you guys that what are the domains you guys are working in, because we wanted this to be kind of a personalized session, and we are going to kind of discuss the domains which you guys gave us. So in the domains which you guys are working in, and we are going to basically work around those domains, and we are going to tell you about how machine learning and data science is being used in those particular domains. Okay, all right, but before we actually start with this session, obviously I'm just going to wait for a few minutes so that more people can join in our live session. And obviously till that time, whoever has joined us, okay, I would really request you guys to obviously introduce yourself, okay, and start kind of greeting each other, and also kind of introduce your domain as well, because that's our main topic for today's session. So it would be better if you can also tell me your domain in the comment section as well. Okay, so if you haven't actually filled up the form, you can also tell us your domain in the comment section, and if we do see that, and if we do have time as well on our side, then in that case we will take up your domain as well. Okay, so let's see who is online till this point. So I'm seeing around 12 viewers online. That's great. So let's see. Okay, Ritvik, Hamid, Amit. Okay, those are all the guys who are online. Hey guys, welcome to the session. All right, let's see. Let's wait for the people to join as well. Let's take the count up to 20 or 25 maybe, and then we can start, I guess. So also guys, just as you are joining in, right, I would basically also ask you guys to put up your applications of machine learning and data science in your domain as well. So do discuss in the comment section, how do you think data science or machine learning is being used currently in your domains. Okay, what is the most coolest application of machine learning or data science which you have heard of till this point in any industry. Okay, it doesn't have to be your own industry. If you think some application is really cool and you want to discuss that with all of us, right, that you can do that as well. Please mention that in the comment section also. All right, okay, we are being joined by Tausif Sayed. Hey Tausif. Anshul is also with us, so hey Anshul, welcome to the session. Okay, let's see who else is joining. Okay, Hamid is saying I'm software test engineer. I've already joined the Inception program. Yeah, yeah, Hamid, we know. Obviously, you have been enrolled with the Inception program with us. That's great. Actually, we are looking forward to being interacting with you in the program itself. All right. He's saying that want to use the learning for developing equity market related AI product. Okay, yeah. So yes, Hamid, we did got your domain as well. We would be discussing that as well in the upcoming session, which is going to be held tomorrow morning 9 a.m. IST. Okay, so we'll be actually getting to this domain tomorrow in the next session. So that would be the schedule for that point. Okay, because obviously we actually got a lot of points, because a lot of people actually signed up on that form which we sent you, and they basically mentioned their domains. So we actually got a lot of domains to be like to discuss. Okay, and obviously we cannot discuss all of the domains in this one session. So what we thought actually to actually split up the domains in the two sessions which we are actually going to have. So there's a session which is like this one, so the ongoing session, and then we are also going to have another session which is going to be like held at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning IST time. Okay, so if you guys think that your topic or your domain was not discussed in this session, you can also join that one, and most probably your domain or topic would be discussed in that session. All right, so let's see. Okay, we also have Anugunj with us online. Hey Anugunj, welcome to the session. All right, Ashutosh is saying hello sir. Hey Ashutosh, welcome. All right, so let's get started then. Let's get started with the domains and how basically machine learning is or data science is basically being applied in those domains itself. Okay, so see, currently we are going to discuss three major domains in this session. Okay, so the first domain which we are going to discuss would be of manufacturing and then supply chain and logistics. Okay, that would be the major domain which we will be discussing. How manufacturing and supply chain, they both are kind of different domains. However, when talking from a perspective of data science or machine learning, most of the applications kind of like overlap, okay, between them because of their overlapping nature itself of the domains. So that's why we actually going to discuss this as one domain itself. Okay, so manufacturing, supply chain and logistics, that would be the one domain which we will be talking about. Then the another domain which we'll be talking about will be telecommunications. Okay, we got a lot of requests from you guys in terms of telecommunication domain, so that would be the another domain which we'll be talking about today. And then there will be a third domain which we'll be talking about, which is gaming and entertainment. So how does machine learning or data science is actually being used or applied in terms of gaming and entertainment domain? That would be the third domain which we'll be discussing. Okay, so I hope you guys are excited about all of these three topics or domains which I mentioned. Okay, so let's get started with the first one, which is manufacturing and supply chain. Okay, so see, in terms of manufacturing and supply chain, we have actually seen a lot of development in machine learning and applied AI. Basically, a lot of companies nowadays which are into manufacturing or supply chain logistics area, right? Most of those companies are actually using some kind of data science or machine learning for their benefit. Okay, one of the most immediate application which comes to my mind when we are actually talking about manufacturing is demand forecasting. Okay, so when you're actually running a manufacturing company or when you're actually dealing with a manufacturing company, right, the first thing which comes into your mind is obviously demand, right? A manufacturing company is basically making something. That's why they are a manufacturing company, right? Now obviously if they are making something, they are going to sell that whatever they are making to someone, right? So because they are going to sell that to someone, so there's basically a constant need of or constant need to monitor what's the demand of what you are making as a manufacturing company in the market. Okay, so it's better if you know somehow, if you understand what's the demand for the product which you're creating. Okay, if you understand that going forward a few months the demand will be lower, then you basically slow down your manufacturing process. And if you say that okay, going forward the for few months your demand is going to increase. So let's say for example, in Christmas the amount of toys needed by children are much higher than any other month in for the whole year, right? So because there is an increased demand on for the toys at the Christmas time, right? We basically need a lot more toys at that point of time in the year, right? So companies need to be prepared for that kind of increase in demand, right? So if you can kind of predict that increase, right, it's easier for the companies to provide that demand and basically make a little bit more profit, right? But it's obviously not that easy every time, given that most of the demand changes, right? That is not that easy to predict. The example which I gave you with the Christmas and the toys one, that is really a very simple example, right? Most of us knows that this will happen for the toys because it's a very trivial example. You can see this on a regular life basis. But most of the demand in the global economy in which we live, right, doesn't vary like this. Okay, it is basically dependent upon a lot of other factors, lot of hidden factors which cannot be seen by the trivial eye, right? This is where machine learning or data science can actually help companies for forecasting the demand beforehand, right? And basically letting them know beforehand for a couple of months before, okay, and in some cases couple of years before the demand is actually increasing or decreasing, so that they can protect their profits, or in the case that demand is increasing, they can basically make a lot more profits. Okay, so that would be the case of demand forecasting. Okay, in the manufacturing a manufacturing domain basically. Another example which would be coming into my mind if we are talking about manufacturing and supply chain domain is of proactive monitoring of a supply chain. Okay, so let me just tell you this step by step, because this is a really interesting case, and I think most of you will be like really excited about this when you hear the full application of this. So supply chain is basically nothing but it's basically a chain with which your supply is basically following from your supplier to your consumer, to your end consumer basically. Okay, so now the thing is that any product which you are using, may it be a laptop, a phone, whatever it is, right? It's not like the manufacturer or the brand of which you are using the product. It's not like they are the one exclusively making that product and then shipping it to your home. It's not like that. There are a lot of other people who are involved in that process. Okay, so they are tier one suppliers, then tier two suppliers, then another companies who are actually creating products or parts of those intermediate parts which are basically going up into the final product of yours. All of those companies, all of those organizations are actually making up the supply chain through which that product is actually coming to your doorstep. That's the full process. Okay, now what happens is that, let's say you are trying to buy a laptop. So let's say you are trying to buy a Dell laptop or something, and what happens is that for some reason Dell is not able to get the semiconductor for the Intel chips which they are using. Okay, so basically they are not able to get the CPUs for their laptops. Okay, now because they are not able to get CPUs for their laptops, they are not able to assemble the laptops. Because they're not able to assemble the laptops, they are not going to sell any more laptops, which basically would mean that they would have to have a loss in the company, right? But what has actually happened wrong here? Okay, the problem was that for like maybe in let's say going back into time, like we see actually currently there is August, right? Which the current month is August, right? But what happened, let's say in July or in June, there was a fire at some factory for Intel. Okay, and because of that, there was no CPU which was manufactured for by the Intel at the month of June. Okay, but somehow this information was not passed to Dell. Okay, which at that time was obviously able to manufacture any amount of laptops, and that was not a problem at that point of time. But what happened over time, Intel was not able to deliver sufficient amount of CPU chips, right? And based on that, the supply of for the creation, basically for the creation of laptops, decreased, right? And thus the overall amount of laptops which were basically being generated by Dell also reduced. Okay, now what will happen as a result is that after a few months, so by August or maybe by September first week something, right? Dell will run out of laptops. They will have nothing to sell for. Okay, because of this reason, right? Now suddenly there would be a shortage of Dell laptops in the market, right? And other competitors, so let's say maybe HP or Acer or something, right? Like them, they will basically conquer that portion of the market wherever Dell laptops are not present at this point of time, right? It would be better if Dell can actually get this information beforehand and basically somehow mitigate this risk that okay, I will not be able to get CPUs from let's say Intel, right? So I need to find another alternative. Maybe I can go to AMD or someone, and maybe they will help us out, right? So this is basically a very simple example, and this kind of situation in the same scenario will never happen in the industry. This is really simplified version of how supply chain basically works, but I tried to break it down for you because I had to explain to you like what exactly a supply chain is and what actually happens if something happens to any of your supplier or any of your tier 2 partner, something like that. But the overall general principle remains the same, that if something happens to your supply chain somewhere across the world, right? Because this is a global economy, you might be getting one part from someone in China, and you might be getting one part from someone in, I don't know, India, or someone from in somewhere in South Africa or something like that, right? So because you are living in such a global economy, and if you are running a manufacturing company, right, if something happens to your supply chain, you should get that information as quickly as possible. So a lot of companies are actually providing softwares and services which actually proactively monitors the risk to your supply chain. So what they do is they gather the information from all of your suppliers, from all of your partners, okay, whoever is included in your supply chain, okay, and they try to gather all that information in real time, okay, and if anything happens to any of your partners or any of your suppliers, your dashboard is basically updated on a very real time basis in I would say in seconds or just in minutes maximum. Okay, maximum time span is of just 2 to 3 minutes, not more than that. Okay, so your dashboard is basically updated on a very proactive manner. Okay, it basically shows you that which site is affected or which partners is affected, which component of your product would be affected by this, how much loss can you expect if you don't do anything, okay, what is the severity of the risk which you are facing, and how you can actually mitigate this risk. Okay, so it might actually suggest you some alternate vendors or alternate partners with which you can go, because so as to you can mitigate this risk properly. So all of this stuff is also being done just so that you can proactively monitor your supply chain and mitigate any risks, or basically avert any risks which come if any of your suppliers or any of your components in your supply chain gets disrupted. Okay, so this is the another use case in manufacturing or supply chain area, if you actually if you are interested in that arena. Okay, and this is something which is being used by a lot of players now. So a lot of players like GE or Ford or a lot of other companies as well. GE, Ford are basically automobile companies in manufacturing, but a lot of other companies as well. One of the one which I mentioned in my example, Dell, right? So that's a IT hardware company which is basically manufacturing laptops, computers, whatever, right? So they are basically using this very much because they are basically spread on a very global map, right? They have contractors and partners all across the world. If they don't use these methods, these technologies, then they don't really have any idea what is going on in the world and what their supply chain health is currently at, right? So to have an idea that what is your current health of your supply chain, most of these companies are actually using these techniques. Okay, so and that basically means that they need a lot more machine learning engineers, they need a lot more data scientists to analyze all of this data, to kind of help them in analyzing and assessing their risk overall, right, with any kind of events which are happening over the world. So that's it basically. So this is the application which is basically going on in manufacturing and supply chain area. These are just two, but I thought that I would just share this with you because these are one of the most important applications, I would say, because these are also generating a lot number of jobs as well. So because I guess in this arena, supply chain analytics and your manufacturing analytics, just with these two areas, right, we are actually seeing about 10 to 15% of total number of analytics jobs which are going to be there in till year to 2022. Okay, so 10 to 15%, that's a huge amount if you just consider that it's just coming from these two arenas, which is like supply chain analytics and manufacturing. So something to consider if you guys are thinking of going into analytics or data science domain or machine learning domain, and you guys want to know which domains would be the hottest in terms of opportunities. Okay, so yeah, that's that. So I would really like to hear something from you guys. If you guys have something to share, you guys can just comment on the comment section. Okay, you guys can also ask me anything which about whatever we have discussed till this point in the manufacturing and supply chain analytics area. So just waiting for your comments, guys. So if you guys have any doubts regarding this or any questions which might come to your mind, you can ask. Certainly, that's not an issue. This can also be a kind of a Q&A session, a general Q&A session actually. But it's not like we are only here to discuss about these domains only. You can ask about the questions, ask the questions about the opportunities itself, anything which you like. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I think there's nothing which you guys want to ask now, so not a problem. I think you can ask that later. Okay, so okay, let's move on to the next application. Okay, before we actually move on to the next domain, just one more application in this arena, which is manufacturing, supply chain analytics, and all of that stuff, and then we will actually move on to the another domain. So the next application which I would like to discuss is something called predictive maintenance. Now I don't know how many of you guys have heard about this, or how many of you know what predictive maintenance is exactly. Okay, but what predictive maintenance is actually, so let's say that some company is actually building tractors. Okay, so there are a lot of companies which build tractors, right? One of them is John Deere. So it basically builds tractors which it kind of sells on a very global level. Okay, there are a lot of farming companies which buys tractors from John Deere, and they also sell it on a personal level or on a consumer end as well, to like individual farmers or something if they are interested. Okay, so let's take the example of that company. So let's say that John Deere is basically building up tractors and manufacturing tractors, and they are basically giving them to farming companies or whoever is basically coming to purchase them. Okay. Now, once they have actually sold that tractor, obviously tractor as any other product would have some kind of warranty, or like service maintenance contract or something like that, right? And obviously they would like to know, or the company John Deere would like to know, what are the chances that your tractor is going to be broken down. Okay, because if they understand when their tractor is going to be broken down prior to that happening, right, they can actually save a lot of money while maintaining it. Okay, or while doing the maintenance products, okay, their hardware, their products with sensors, okay, which actually emits or basically sends the data in real time to the company's servers. Okay, now what happens is these companies actually accumulate this data over time, and this log data basically from the sensors or from the products, right, this is basically analyzed for anomalies to see what is the overall health of the product. Okay, so let's say that the analysis of the log is basically is showing that the product health is not that good and the product is at the verge of breaking down. So now what the company can do is that they can just email or contact the customer and say that, okay, we have found some anomaly with the product health, and we would like to maintain this for you on a prior basis so that it doesn't crash itself. Okay, so with a tractor, right, it can just get broken down, and if it is broken down completely, it's not turning on, it's not working completely, so in that case when you maintain it, right, it would be much more costly than when your product is, or when your tractor is not working in a much good health, but it's still working on a regular basis, or its health is not completely degraded. Okay, so if you can actually maintain it prior to the breakdown, obviously your cost will be less. So for John Deere, this means that more of their profits will be saved. Okay, so this is another thing which we are actually seeing nowadays a lot more with product companies or hardware companies, which they are doing with all of their products and hardwares, whatever they are installing at the consumers end or for the industries, that they basically fit them with sensors and they collect that sensor log data. And once they are facing or seeing any kind of anomaly in that log data, they contact the customer to priorly, and they basically ask them that whether they can just maintain them for them on a prior basis, so that the costs are reduced for the maintenance part. Okay, so this is basically what is called predictive maintenance. It's another one of the most interesting applications happening nowadays in automobile and your manufacturing industry. So it's really great actually, because it saves a lot of money for a lot of companies, and that's again one of the major reasons that it is also producing a lot number of jobs in these sectors, so in automobiles and maintenance. So yeah, in maintenance actually. So if you go into automobile sector, if you want to go into automobile sector, my advice to you would be that you should actually focus on predictive maintenance area. Okay, so if you focus on that area, it would be much better for you to do some kind of project related to predictive maintenance, because there are a lot of data sets which are present online which deal with your a sensor log data. So you can just use those data sets and you can just try or play out with them. Okay, now so these were all the applications regarding your supply chain analytics or manufacturing area, or we also saw the use case in automobile industry as well. Okay, now let's move on to the next topic which I wanted to discuss with you, which was your gaming and entertainment. Okay, but before that I would like to see if any of you have any questions regarding whatever we have discussed till this point. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so all right. Okay. Okay, Anshul is saying what all sort of data we will have be having for this example. Okay, so Anshul, I am not sure which example were you talking about, but I would like just assume that you were talking about the predictive uh, the predictive maintenance example which you talked about, right? So in predictive maintenance, basically the data which you will have with you is would be the sensor data. Now in the case of tractors which we talked about, the example which we actually had, so in that case the data would be that most of these sensors would be installed either on the tractor body itself, okay, or on the axles of the tires actually. Okay, so axle or the tractor body, and what they will actually kind of measure on a very regular basis in real time would be what is the normal amount of vibration which is happening. So for that the sensors would be present on the tractor body, or what is the value of the axle vibration or the axle gyroscopic rotation. All of those metrics would be actually kind of regularly monitored and measured and sent to the your company server. Okay, and then they will be analyzed over there. Okay, so these kind of metrics would be kind of computed on a very regular basis. Okay, there can be raw metrics as well. So the location of the tractor itself could be tracked for a very long time, and it can be seen that okay, what's the overall kind of speed, or what's the overall you can say efficiency or mileage which the tractor is basically giving. All of these metrics when combined and seen together would show you that whether the tractor is actually degrading in its performance, and if it is degrading in this performance, then yeah. Okay, all right, so let's see. Okay. Okay, Deepak is saying, hi Rishabh, my domain is airline. Okay, yeah, airline is okay. So, Deepak, today we are actually not going to discuss airline. However, I would just keep this in mind and we would take this topic tomorrow in the tomorrow session. However, actually, it's a good topic, I would say, a good domain to discuss about in terms of data science and machine learning. However, not today, okay, but we will be definitely discussing about airline tomorrow in the morning session, which is 9 a.m. IST session. Okay, all right. So let's see. Okay. All right. So I think there are no other questions related to the stuff which we were discussing. So okay, let's go to the next topic, okay, of ours, which is the domain of gaming and entertainment. Okay. So yeah, let's discuss about that. So in terms of gaming and entertainment, I don't know how many of you guys have actually seen the applications of machine learning or data science in gaming and entertainment, but let me just tell you, it's huge. Okay, so there are so many applications I cannot actually like list them all out here. Okay, because working in gaming and entertainment area as well for past couple of years now, and like it's really interesting what the things you can do with the gaming data which you gather as a regular feedback from your players and from your users in the gaming industry, and same is the case in the entertainment industry as well. So let me just give you two applications, okay, which will give you an idea how this thing, how basically analytics or data science or machine learning is basically being used in gaming and entertainment area. Okay, so the first one is that in gaming, okay, so let's say any game, okay, which you are playing, right? those games are generally made up of levels. Okay, and what you expect when you start any game is that the level one, right, that should be less difficult than level 2, and level 2 should be less difficult than level 3, and so on, right? And you also want this difficulty to rise with some kind of pattern. So you generally want that this difficulty rises with a kind of a linear pattern, right? That level 3 is kind of like almost double difficult than level 1 or something like that, right? That's kind of the parameter which you have in your mind subconsciously, right? You wouldn't want that level 1 is easy, then level 2 is really difficult, and then level 3 is really easy. That would not be a good experience in terms of players, right? So for that, what we do is we try to auto balance the level difficulty using machine learning. Okay, so we get the data from our users. Okay, so all the users who are playing any game of ours, right, we actually gather all of their data. So how much they are scoring, how much they are winning, how much they are losing, all of that data is actually collected, and based on that data you try to analyze which of your levels are not correctly balanced in terms of difficulty. Okay, so let's say your level 35 is not correctly balanced. Okay, so let's say level 34 was fine, but level 35 was really easy, and level 36 was again tough. Okay, so in that case you really want to increase the difficulty of level 35 because that's not where it should be. So, okay, so to do that, what you need to do is you need to analyze the data which you are getting from the users in terms of how much they are winning, how much they are losing, how much they are able to play the game, and basically not kind of leave in between. Okay, because if they are leaving in between too much, that basically means that your game is not working as it should be, because there is just a benchmark or a expected level of leaving in between where it should be for the users, right? If it crosses that level, it means that your level is either too difficult or it's not giving them that much pleasure while playing, or something like that, right? So when you analyze all of that data, then you can kind of correctly auto balance all of the levels which are present in your game. Okay, so that's one of the applications in gaming industry when you are dealing with machine learning or data science. Okay, another application in entertainment industry, okay, not exactly in gaming industry, however it is also like relevant to gaming industry, but kind of directly related with your entertainment industry, is your content recommendation. So you have seen this obviously n number of times, that when you go to Netflix or YouTube or Facebook or wherever, right, whatever entertainment area you are going to online, right, you are always shown that you might like this, or you might like this video, or you might like this TV show or this film or something, right? That's basically a direct application of machine learning at work using the content properties. Okay, whatever you're seeing. So let's say I have saw a lot of action movies, so obviously Netflix understands that I'm a person who loves action movies or maybe thrillers or something like that, so he will obviously suggest me similar kind of movies because he doesn't want me to go and unsubscribe Netflix, right? So because of that reason, it obviously suggests me more and more action movies, because of which I continue to be with Netflix and their profits increase. Okay, so that's another application in terms of gaming and entertainment. This one, the last one which we discussed, was obviously directly related to entertainment, but you get an idea, right? So yeah, so these type of applications are coming up every day actually in this area, gaming and entertainment area, and obviously we cannot discuss all of those, but this was just something to get you an idea about what you can expect if you're going into the lines of gaming and entertainment, what kind of applications or services you might expect to work on if you are working with this domain. Okay, all right, so now we are only left with the last of your topic, which was your telecommunication domain. Okay, but before that, let me just go on with some comments which I have got. Let me see if anyone of you have any questions. Okay, also I have one more special thing to share with you, so I will obviously be sharing that as well, and then we will be moving on to the telecommunication domain. Okay, all right, so let's see. Okay. Okay, Ritvik is saying, how will risk of the wrong usage of data affect a tractor company? Okay. Okay, Ritvik, I'm not sure if I'm understanding your question. However, the case was that in the tractor case, in the predictive maintenance application case, where we took the example of tractor company John Deere. So for that, basically, the case was that you needed to actually collect the data from the sensor level from the tractor itself, and basically kind of predict when the tractor was going to have a breakdown, so that you can proactively you can actually have a maintenance for that tractor. That was the case. Okay, so but if you can rephrase your question, I think that will give me a better idea what you're trying to ask. Okay, all right. So okay, okay, all right. Okay, I think with our current domains, I think you guys don't have much questions, right? Manohar is saying, hello, my domain is gaming. Okay. Oh, wow, that's great, Manohar. If your domain is gaming, I think you might have got the application of auto level balancing in games, right? I think you might have already done that as well with your work in gaming. Okay, so that's great. Chandler is asking, please tell about banking domain. Chandler, so we would be discussing about insurance and banking domain tomorrow in the tomorrow session in the morning at 9 a.m. IST. Okay, because we had a lot of domains to cover, around 8 or 9 domains to cover. So we thought that we would just split them up. Okay, so we would be covering the insurance and banking domain tomorrow in the tomorrow session. All right. Okay, so guys, before we actually move on to the telecommunication domain, I would just like to kind of give a shout out to everyone who actually participated with us during this bootcamp week, and for all the sessions which we have actually done, all the mentorship sessions, all the bootcamp sessions, because we have actually got a great response for the bootcamp as well as for the Inception program itself. We have got enrollments for our Inception program from multiple countries now. Like we have actually got enrollments from UK, Chile, Romania, all over the world actually. So from many countries we have got the enrollments, and the people who have joined us in the program itself, it's like we have actually got some of really experienced guys as well. So some people have been working in the IT industry for past 20 years, and I know that's crazy basically, right? But we have got solutions architect, enterprise architects having 15 years of experience or 20 years of experience. We have product managers joining us having 8 or 10 years of experience with them in the IT field itself, and that's great actually. We think that's really awesome, because what we feel is that most of the professionals currently who have experience and who basically have served long enough in IT industry, they should definitely go on with learning machine learning and data science, because this is high time. Uh, the scenario is changing really fast in IT industry. Okay, more and more companies are basically switching towards data science, machine learning, and all of that area. So if you are not going to go into machine learning and data science now, it could be problem some for some of the guys who are in IT and are at a senior level as well. Okay, so it's actually great, and it's actually awesome that we have got such a great response from you guys in Inception. I just wanted to kind of share that with you guys, because obviously all of you made it possible. So I thought that I would just let you know. Okay, so yeah, that's all about it. Okay, also thing I just wanted to mention that, so because of that reason, we have actually opened the discount window once again, and it will be open for our next few hours. Okay, so the 20% discount is again valid. So if you guys have missed the offer prior in the past week, but you are still interested and you still wanted to kind of enroll in the Inception program, we have limited 15 seats. Okay, there are only 15 seats for which this discount is valid. Okay, so once those 15 seats will be over, the discount will no longer be present. So if you are interested, I would suggest you that you go and buy the Inception program right away. Okay, because the seats are filling up fast, because only 15 seats have the discount, right? So more and more people are buying this fast in a fast manner. Okay, so I would suggest you that you go right now and just enroll in the program right away. Okay, all right. So with that being said, I would just continue with the third domain which we were going to discuss. So that was your telecommunications. Okay, Actually, telecommunications is really interesting. It's a really interesting domain to work with. Okay, and what happened in the past with telecommunications is that most of the stuff which we are going to discuss now, okay, as the application of machine learning in and data science and telecommunication, was being done on a very manual basis. Okay, we have actually two of our previous inception student actually worked at a telecom company, okay, and they basically did manual analysis before they were enrolled in the inception program. And once they actually completed the inception program, they actually suggested a lot of automated techniques and automated machine learning based techniques to their companies, and some of those techniques were actually implemented in their company itself, okay, because they understood the point that, okay, if we are doing this on a manual basis, it would not be enough to achieve what we were trying to do, and we will discuss what they were actually trying to do. And they basically got pretty good results with that machine learning based automated analysis of whatever they were doing, okay. And what they were doing was, the students which we are talking about from our previous inception batch, their main job role was basically fraud analyst. So they were fraud analyst with one of the telecommunication company, and what they basically did was they basically tried to filter out or find out which transactions or which calls or which transactions or which calls are basically made as a fraud to their network, okay, because fraudulent activities are a lot prevalent in telecommunications. Most of us don't know about this, and because most of us just think about banking or finance when it comes to fraud or fraudulent activities, right? But it's not that uncommon in telecommunications as well, okay. Telecommunications have a lot of fraudulent activities which are going on, and the major example of fraudulent activities in telecommunications are, so your illegal access of the network, okay, that's one of the fraudulent activities. Another is illegal authorization of the network, okay. Then your profile cloning, okay, or profile or your fake profiles basically, okay. Frauds basically in telecommunication create fake profiles of your original users, of original customers, and they basically make calls on behalf of those customers, okay. And what happens is that at the end of the day, the bill comes to the original customer, and that's basically that's obviously coming under fraud, right? That's the fraud that's coming under the category of the fraud. So what their role, or what the role of our previous batch students were previously to joining inception, was to actually manually analyze these activities or these transactions and filter out the fraudulent ones, okay. Once they actually passed out the inception program, and once they actually returned to their jobs and but had the knowledge of machine learning, right, then they basically thought that they can do this using machine learning as well, okay. So then they basically discussed that with their management, and they basically went through a POC, which is proof of concept, and they basically the management actually liked the idea very much, and then they implemented this on a semi automated level, okay. And currently I think they are at that stage. I'm not currently aware, but yeah, I think they are currently at that stage, semi automated level. They might have gone fully automated, I don't know for sure, but that's the current stage which I was aware of, okay. So the point is that there's a lot of application in telecommunication as well. This is one of the applications which I'm talking about, which is fraud detection. Because see, with fraud detection, companies actually loses a lot, okay. Why companies loses a lot with frauds or fraudulent activities? Because what happens is, so let's say you are a subscriber of Jio or Airtel or something, right? And at some point of time, you have a bill, or Airtel sends you a bill that is basically of 3,000 rupees or 4,000 rupees, right? But you haven't made any calls, okay, you haven't made any such usage, right? So what will you do? Obviously you would have to pay the bill, because the company is demanding, and they are saying that yes, you made those calls, you made that usage. And obviously on the technical level, it is basically being represented on your name, so you will either have to pay them, or you will have to go to court or something like that, right? And for 3,000 or 4,000 bucks, I don't think you will go to the court, right? So you will pay them. But what would happen as a result? They will lose you as their customer, because now you will not trust them again, right? You will just say, no, I'm not going to go ahead with Airtel ever again, right? And you will lose, basically they will lose you as a customer, right? And they will lose your they will lose your the profits which they going to had from you in the future as well. Okay, so that's one of the scenarios, just one of the scenarios, right? Like how fraudulent activities are really bad for business in terms of telecommunication. Okay, another utilization or another application of machine learning or data science in your telecommunication area would be calculation of LTV, okay, or lifetime value of a customer. Okay, now what is the lifetime value of a customer? So let's say that basically we need to so for a business, right, we need to kind of figure out how much money should I spend on a certain customer, right? Or how worth are they as a customer to me, right? We should know this, okay? Because so let's say if I am trying to spend some amount of money on advertising for my customers to get my customers to my product, right, I should understand how much money should I actually spend on them, okay, or how much are they worth, even if they are actually buying my product or buying my service. If they are not able to produce any profit for me, okay, because I have already spent so much on them, then in that case they are worthless and I shouldn't spend any more money on them for advertising or something, right? Because they've I will never be able to recover my money, right? So for that simple reason, what we do is we actually try to calculate lifetime value of a customer. Okay, so whenever we have a potential customer with us or a very new customer with us, we try to see what is their lifetime value or how much maximum profit or how much maximum value can we get out of that kind of customer. Okay, now how can we do that? Obviously we cannot go into the future and look at the value they will be producing after 7 years or 10 years. That would be absurd, right? So what we do is we try to understand them from another customers levels. Okay, so we see that, okay, what kind of activity are they doing, what kind of behavior they possess regarding our product or regarding our service. Okay, how much are they logging in or how much are they engaging with our product or our service. Okay, on all of these factors, when we try to when we try to understand their overall behavior, right, we try to understand what kind of a customer they are. Okay, and then we basically see, okay, this kind of customer spends so much on our product, this kind of customer spends so much on our product, and so on, right? So we basically classify customers on different categories, and with that classification we sometimes actually predict some amount of value which they can bring to our business. It can also be a direct relation to the value itself and no classification in between. It depends how you want to do that, but that's the general application what you can do in this can be actually done in any kind of business. Okay, we actually this is generally done in your telecommunication, also in insurance and banking business as well. So that's why I kind of included this in this area. However, this can also be applicable in entertainment industry or gaming industry, because there also you generally calculate lifetime value of a customer. Okay, so this application is generally involved in most of the domains. However, it is more prevalent in some areas and less prevalent in some other areas. Okay, so yeah, that's that actually. So yeah, so that's all from my side in terms of the applications for the domains. Okay, so we basically discussed you can say three, or I will say four domains actually: manufacturing, supply chain, gaming, entertainment, and your telecommunication. Okay, so four domains in total. All right, and we also have another continuing session tomorrow at 9 a.m. IST, and we will be continuing to discuss more applications from more domains in that session as well. Okay, however, let me just see any questions which I might have missed during the session, which I would like to answer. So let's see. Okay, Salesh is asking what should be my skill set to get a job in data science as a fresher. Yeah, so Salesh, okay, that's kind of a off-topic question, but how I would just like to answer that. So Salesh, see, the thing is that your skill set to get a job in data science as a fresher should obviously be including all the concepts which are required by the industry in terms of data science. So that would basically include your machine learning skills, and then your basic statistical knowledge skills, all of that stuff with Python or R, depending upon which language do you like, right? And some other technical skills as well. But once you have done that, right, you need to understand that getting a job is not just about the technical skills, it's also about how you are presenting yourself and how much are you getting yourself into the front in the front of employers, right? Most of the people we deal with in terms of training and educating them about data science, the problem with them is not about their technical skills. The problem with them is that they are not able to kind of showcase themselves in front of employers, okay, and that's their downfall. That's why they are not getting the job. That's why they are not able to pick. If you are an experienced person, you will get a higher level job like a senior data scientist or a data scientist or a data science team manager, something like that. But there is no like shortage of the jobs, okay. The problem is that people don't understand how to get into the front of employers, okay, and if you are not able to get into front of employers, how will you get a job? That's obviously not possible, right? So that's why actually we do have the full career support services module in our Inception program as well, that we actually teach you properly what are your strengths and how you can actually be a valuable part of their data science teams, okay. So I would suggest that if you are really interested in getting a job from data science and basically being a fresher as well, I would suggest that you enroll in the program, because we basically you would say like kind of groom you, okay, in terms of getting a job, okay, in data science. Also we do have really senior professionals as well in the program, so you kind of get a benefit of added advantage in terms of networking as well. So some opportunities can be directly flown from their end to you as well, obviously depend upon the location which you are at, but generally this thing also happens. Okay, Anugunj is asking, how does Cambridge Analytica worked on Trump campaign and Brexit? Hey, that's actually a very interesting question, and really interesting one actually. But we're kind of out of time, so cannot discuss that right now. However, would like to discuss that in the tomorrow session. So we can actually start with that. That's right. So he was basically asking that how does Cambridge Analytica, which was a company involved in the US election scandal, how they worked on the Trump campaign or Brexit campaign. Okay, so we will be discussing that as well tomorrow. Okay, and we'll like have a little bit of time for that question as well. All right. So, okay, so let's see if any other questions are remaining. Let's see. Okay, okay. All right. I think most of the questions are answered. Okay, Deepak is asking, when business have confidence in any machine learning model because it can't be 100% correct. Oh, that's good. So Deepak, if you're still online with us, so I would just like to answer this question for you, that to make any business be confident in your model, because yes, that is true that no model can be 100% accurate or correct, right? What you need to do is you need to understand the domain itself, okay. So generally what happens is that firstly models are not just kind of evaluated on the basis of accuracy, okay, that would be incorrect. There are other evaluation metrics as well which are actually used in classification as well as in regression problems. So that is also something we would see in detail when we will be discussing that in the Inception program. However, what I would basically tell you is that the accuracy or the evaluation metric value is not the only thing which we should keep in mind, okay. The another thing which we should keep in mind is that what business or what domain are you dealing with, okay. So let's say if you are dealing with e-commerce domain, okay, in that case the accuracy of the model will not be that much of an importance if when compared to a other domain which is let's say healthcare. So in healthcare, obviously the accuracy of your model or your analysis is much should be much higher in terms of confidence, right? Rather than an e-commerce or retail kind of area, okay? Because the what's the worst thing that could happen in e-commerce or retail, right? There could be some losses, okay? That would be the worst thing, okay. However, what's the worst that could happen in, let's say, healthcare, or what's the worst that could happen in another of our domain which one of you guys mentioned, which is airline, right? It's like the worst is people dying, okay. That's the worst, and we certainly don't want that. Companies certainly don't want that. They can, okay, they can deal with losses, that's fine. They deal with losses every time, it's not a problem, but they don't want to deal with people losing their lives. That's something like, okay, we don't want that. So in that case, in that scenario, your confidence should be much higher. Okay, your benchmark should be much higher. So if you are aiming for a 90% confidence or 90% accuracy value or some other evaluation metric, whatever you are dealing with, right? If you are dealing with 90% in e-commerce or retail, it would obviously be much higher in terms of your healthcare or airline industry. Okay, this obviously also depends upon the problem to problem basis. Obviously, I'm not setting 90% or 95% as a benchmark value. I'm not saying that. I'm just comparing like what would happen in a similar case if the case is in retail and if the case is in a airline or healthcare industry. Okay, so that's basically what you should think about. You should think about this from a problem to problem aspect. Okay, this is not a there's not a fixed value that okay, if you're getting accuracy of more than 90%, it's all awesome and you're great. It's not like that. 90% could be really absurd accuracy for some problem, and 90% could be really like Nobel Prize winning kind of accuracy for some other problem. Okay, so it depends upon the problem statement itself. There's no silver bullet answer for this kind of question. Okay, all right. All right, so let's see if any other questions are remaining. Okay, I don't think any other questions are remaining. However, I can only see the limited view of the chat. So, okay. Okay, I think most of your questions have been answered, right? So I would just be signing off now, okay? And I will basically meet you guys in the tomorrow's session, which is at 9 a.m. IST, okay? And we would be taking about the domains as well. And then we will also be taking up the interesting question asked by Anukunj, which was like how Cambridge Analytica actually worked on the Trump and the Brexit campaign. Okay, all right, so I'll see you in the tomorrow's session. All right, and also if you guys are interested in the Inception program, as I said, that the discount window is open now again, but only for 15 people, and the seats are actually filling up fast. So I would really suggest you to actually enroll in it as soon as possible. Okay, all right.